You are living someone else's life and calling it your own. The dreams you abandoned, the risks you refused to take, the person you decided not to become, these were not your choices. They were the choices of a weak, fearful version of yourself that was programmed by other people's limitations and other people's fears. Your parents told you to be realistic. Your teachers told you to have a backup plan. Your friends told you to be grateful for what you have. And you listened to all of them instead of listening to the voice inside you that knew you were capable of something extraordinary. Now you wake up every day, living a life that fits someone else's definition of acceptable, while your true potential suffocates under layers of compromise, conformity, and cowardice. The weak version of yourself loves this arrangement because it requires no courage, no risk, and no responsibility for creating something better. But that version of you is not your friend. It is the enemy of everything you could become. And until you recognize it as such, you will continue to live as a shadow of your true self. You are living a lie. Every single day you wake up, look in the mirror, and pretend that the person staring back at you is doing their best. But deep down, in that quiet place where truth lives, you know better. You know you are capable of so much more than what you are showing the world. The weak version of yourself has been running your life for far too long. This version makes excuses when things get difficult. This version chooses the easy path when the right path requires effort. This version settles for average when extraordinary is within reach. And worst of all, this version has convinced you that this is just who you are. But that ends today. Success is not about being perfect. Success is about being honest with yourself about where you are and where you need to go. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding this conversation with themselves. They blame their circumstances, their background, their education, their boss, their family, or their luck. They point fingers at everything and everyone except the one person who has the power to change their situation. The truth is uncomfortable, but it will set you free. You are exactly where you are in life because of the decisions you have made and the actions you have taken up to this point. Not your parents' decisions, not your teachers' decisions, not your government's decisions. This is not about making you feel bad about yourself. This is about waking you up to the incredible power you possess. Once you accept complete responsibility for your life, you gain complete control over your future. When you stop being a victim of circumstances, you become the architect of your destiny. The weak version of yourself loves comfort zones. It craves predictability and safety above all else. It would rather stay in a job that pays the bills than take the risk of building something meaningful. It would rather complain about problems than work on solutions. It would rather wish things were different than do the work to make them different. This weak version speaks to you every day. It whispers in your ear when the alarm goes off in the morning, telling you that 5 more minutes of sleep won't hurt. It talks to you when you know you should exercise, convincing you that tomorrow would be a better day to start. It negotiates with you when you know you should make that important phone call, saying that maybe next week would be better timing. These small compromises with yourself add up over time, each time you choose comfort over growth, easy over necessary. You are feeding the weak version of yourself and starving the strong version that wants to emerge. The strong version of yourself is already there, waiting. It has been waiting your entire life for you to give it permission to take control. This version doesn't make excuses. This version doesn't negotiate with mediocrity. This version understands that everything you want is on the other side of fear, discomfort, and hard work. But here is what nobody tells you about killing the weak version of yourself. It fights back. It doesn't want to die. It will use every trick in the book to maintain control over your life. It will remind you of every time you failed in the past. It will magnify every risk and minimize every opportunity. It will make you feel like you are not smart enough, not talented enough, not connected enough to succeed. This is normal. This is expected. This is part of the process. The difference between people who transform their lives and people who stay stuck is not talent, luck, or circumstances. The difference is their willingness to push through this resistance. The difference is their commitment to doing what needs to be done even when they don't feel like doing it. Your life changes the moment you decide that the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. When you reach that point, when you are truly sick and tired of being sick and tired, that is when transformation becomes possible. But decision alone is not enough. You must back up that decision with action. You must be willing to do things differently than you have done them before. You cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. That is the definition of insanity. The weak version of yourself wants you to believe that change is complicated, that success requires special knowledge or connections that you don't have. This is another lie designed to keep you stuck. Success leaves clues. There are principles and strategies that successful people use that anyone can learn and apply. The problem is not lack of information in today's world. Information is everywhere. The problem is lack of implementation. The problem is knowing what to do but not doing what you know. The problem is having great intentions but poor execution. Your weak self will always find reasons why today is not the right day to start. It will tell you to wait until Monday or next month or next year when conditions are better. But conditions are never perfect. Successful people don't wait for perfect conditions. They create momentum with imperfect action. The transformation you seek begins with a simple recognition. You must see clearly that the person you are today is not the person you need to become to create the life you want. There is a gap between who you are and who you need to be. That gap represents your work. This work is not easy, but it is simple. It requires you to consistently choose the harder path when it leads to growth. It requires you to consistently choose discipline over convenience, progress over comfort, and excellence over mediocrity. The weak version of yourself has had its time. It has shown you what life looks like when you operate below your potential. Now it is time to meet the person you were meant to become. Fear is the master programmer of your mind. It writes the code that keeps you small, safe, and stuck from the moment you were born. Fear began shaping your beliefs about what is possible for your life. It taught you to avoid pain, reject uncertainty, and cling to what is familiar, even when familiar is slowly killing your dreams. Fear does not announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. It operates in the shadows of your consciousness, disguising itself as logic, reason, and common sense. It tells you that wanting more is greedy, that taking risk is foolish, that people like you don't achieve extraordinary things. Fear is a master manipulator, and its favorite tool is the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve. The victim mentality is fear's greatest creation. When you operate from a victim mindset, you surrender your power to external circumstances. You become a passenger in your own life, watching from the sidelines as opportunities pass by. The victim believes that life happens to them rather than for them. They collect evidence of why they cannot succeed instead of looking for ways to make success inevitable. Victims love company. They gather with other victims to share stories about how unfair life is, how the system is rigged, how success is only for the lucky few. These conversations feel good in the moment because they remove responsibility from your shoulders, but they also remove possibility from your future. The language of defeat becomes second nature when you live in victim mode. You say things like, "I can't afford it," instead of "How can I afford it?" You say, "I don't have time," instead of This is not a priority for me. You say, I'm not good at that, instead of, I haven't learned that yet. These subtle shifts in language reveal massive differences in mindset. Excuses are the vocabulary of the defeated. Every excuse you make is a small betrayal of your potential. When you make an excuse, you are choosing to protect your ego instead of expanding your capabilities. You are choosing temporary comfort over permanent improvement. The most dangerous excuses are the ones that sound reasonable. I'm too old to start over. I don't have the right education. I don't know the right people. The economy is bad. My industry is changing. These excuses feel true because they contain elements of reality, but they are not the whole truth. The whole truth is that every limitation you face has been overcome by someone else. Every excuse you have has been conquered by ordinary people who decided they wanted something more than they wanted their comfort zone. Age, education, connections, and circumstances are factors, but they are not final verdicts on your potential. Your mind is constantly engaged in conversation with itself. Most people are completely unaware of this internal dialogue, but it shapes every decision they make and every action they take. The weak version of yourself has been dominating this conversation for years, filling your head with doubt, fear, and limitation. This negative self-talk becomes so automatic that you don't even notice it anymore. It runs in the background like a computer program, quietly sabotaging your confidence and undermining your efforts. It tells you that you are not smart enough before you even try to learn something new. It reminds you of past failures when you consider taking a risk. It magnifies every obstacle and minimizes every opportunity. Breaking this cycle requires conscious effort and constant vigilance. You must become aware of the conversation happening in your head and take control of it. You must fire the weak voice that has been narrating your life and hire a stronger voice that speaks with confidence, possibility, and determination. The gap between your current self and your potential self is not about talent or ability. It is about identity. Your current self operates from one set of beliefs about what is possible. Your potential self operates from a completely different set of beliefs. The transformation happens when you choose to adopt the beliefs of the person you want to become. Your current self believes that change is hard, that success requires luck, that failure is permanent. Your potential self believes that growth is natural, that success is learnable, that failure is feedback. Your current self focuses on problems. Your potential self focuses on solutions. Your current self asks, why me? This shift in identity does not happen overnight. It happens through small, consistent choices that gradually build new patterns of thinking and acting. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you strengthen your potential self. Every time you choose growth over safety, you weaken the grip of your current limitations. The psychology of weakness is built on false beliefs about what you can achieve and who you can become. These beliefs feel real because you have been living with them for so long. But beliefs can be changed. Patterns can be broken. Stories can be rewritten. The first step is recognition. You must see clearly how fear, victim thinking, excuses, and negative self-talk have been operating in your life. Only when you can see the problem clearly can you begin to solve it effectively. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must choose between who they have been and who they can become. This moment is not announced with fanfare. It often arrives quietly, in the middle of an ordinary day, when you finally realize that you cannot continue living the same way and expect different results. Decision is the bridge between dreams and reality, but not the kind of decision most people make. Most people make weak decisions. They say things like, I'll try to lose weight, or I should probably start saving money, or maybe I'll look for a new job. These are not decisions. These are wishes dressed up as intentions. Real decision cuts off all other possibilities. When you truly decide to transform your life, you burn the bridges that lead back to your old ways of thinking and acting. You commit to a new path with such certainty that retreat becomes impossible. This kind of decision carries power because it comes from a place of absolute conviction. The transformation begins with small, daily actions that seem insignificant in the moment but compound into extraordinary results over time. Success is not about making one giant leap. Success is about taking consistent steps in the right direction, day after day, week after week, month after month. Habits are the building blocks of transformation. Everything you are today is the result of habits you have practiced for years. Everything you will become tomorrow depends on the habits you choose to practice starting today. The weak version of yourself has weak habits. The strong version of yourself requires strong habits. Strong habits are built through repetition and reinforcement. When you do something once, it requires enormous willpower. When you do something consistently for 30 days, it begins to feel natural. When you do something consistently for 90 days, it becomes automatic. When you do something consistently for a year, it becomes part of who you are. The most powerful habit you can develop is the habit of keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you say you will do. You build trust with yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you erode that trust. People who transform their lives are people who can be counted on, especially by themselves. Daily disciplines separate successful people from everyone else. While others sleep in, successful people get up early to work on their goals. While others watch television, successful people read books that expand their knowledge. While others complain about their circumstances, successful people take action to improve their situation. These disciplines seem small and unimportant on any given day. Missing one day of exercise will not make you unhealthy. Skipping one day of reading will not make you ignorant. Avoiding one difficult conversation will not ruin your career. But the accumulation of these small choices creates the trajectory of your entire life. Most people set goals. Few people set standards. Goals are things you want to achieve. Standards are things you refuse to compromise on. When you have a goal to exercise 3 times per week, you might exercise twice and feel disappointed. When you have a standard of taking care of your body, you find ways to move every single day because anything less violates who you are. Standards create consistency because they are not negotiable. You do not debate with yourself about whether to brush your teeth. You do not need motivation to take a shower. You do not require willpower to pay your bills. These things happen automatically because they are standards, not goals. Mental conditioning is the process of training your mind to think like the person you want to become. Athletes condition their bodies through physical training. High performers condition their minds through mental training. They practice positive self-talk. They visualize successful outcomes. They study success principles. They surround themselves with inspiration. Your mind is like a garden. If you plant positive thoughts and water them with consistent action, you will harvest positive results. If you allow negative thoughts to grow like weeds, they will choke out everything good in your life. Mental conditioning is about being intentional with what you allow to grow in the garden of your mind. Transformation is not a destination. It is a way of traveling through life. It is a commitment to constant growth, continuous improvement, and never-ending learning. The person who stops growing starts dying. The person who stops improving starts declining. The person who stops learning starts becoming irrelevant. The blueprint for transformation is simple but not easy. It requires decision, habits, disciplines, standards, and mental conditioning applied consistently over time. Your beliefs about yourself determine the boundaries of your life. If you believe you are not capable of earning a six-figure income, you will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity that could lead to that level of success. If you believe you are not worthy of a loving relationship, you will choose partners who confirm that belief. If you believe you are not smart enough to start a business, you will find reasons why every business idea won't work. These limiting beliefs operate like invisible chains. You cannot see them, but they control your every move. They were installed in your mind years ago by well-meaning parents, teachers, and society who told you to be realistic, to not get your hopes up, to have a backup plan. These beliefs feel true because you have been living with them for so long, but they are not facts. They are simply thoughts you have thought so many times that they have become automatic. Replacing limiting beliefs requires you to become a detective in your own life. You must examine every thought that limits your potential and ask yourself where it came from. Most of these beliefs were formed when you were too young to evaluate their accuracy. A teacher who told you that you were not good at math when you were 8 years old may have shaped your entire relationship with numbers. A parent who said money doesn't grow on trees may have created a scarcity mindset that follows you into adulthood. The process of belief replacement begins with awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. Start paying attention to the words you use when you talk about yourself and your possibilities. Notice when you say things like, "I could never do that," or "people like me don't succeed at this," or "I'm just not built for success." These phrases reveal the beliefs that are running your life. Once you identify a limiting belief, you must challenge its validity. Ask yourself if this belief is absolutely true. Ask yourself if this belief serves your highest good. Ask yourself what your life would look like if you adopted the opposite belief. Most limiting beliefs crumble under honest examination because they are based on assumptions rather than facts. Small improvements compound into extraordinary results over time. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is not dramatic. Successful people are not 10 times better. They are not twice as smart. They are not born with special advantages. They are simply 1% better in a dozen different areas. And those small improvements add up to remarkable outcomes. If you improve your productivity by just 1% each day, you will be 37 times more productive by the end of the year. If you improve your skills by just 1% each day, you will be world-class within a few years. If you improve your relationships by just 1% each day, you will build a network that opens doors you never imagined possible. Confidence is not something you are born with. Confidence is something you build through competence. Every time you do something you thought you couldn't do, your confidence grows. Every time you overcome a challenge, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than you realized. Every time you achieve a goal, you expand your belief about what is possible. Real confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. When you say you will do something and then follow through, you build evidence that you are reliable. When you set a standard and consistently meet it, you develop unshakable faith in your abilities. When you face your fears and take action anyway, you discover that courage is not the absence of fear, but action in the presence of fear. Accountability systems ensure that you follow through on your commitments even when motivation fades. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Accountability creates external pressure that keeps you moving forward when internal pressure is not enough. Find someone who will hold you to your highest standards, not your lowest excuses. Find someone who believes in your potential more than your limitations. Find someone who will call you out when you are making excuses and celebrate with you when you achieve your goals. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. You become excellent by practicing excellence in small things every single day. Excellence in how you make your bed, how you answer your phone, how you treat people, how you manage your time. When excellence becomes your standard in small things, it naturally extends to bigger things. Your success identity is not who you are today. It is who you choose to become through consistent, intentional action aligned with your highest values and greatest potential. Life will test your commitment to transformation just when you think you have figured everything out. Challenges will appear that make you question everything you believe about yourself and your potential. This is not punishment. This is preparation. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to prove to yourself that the weak version of you is truly dead and the strong version is here to stay. Momentum is the most valuable currency in the game of success. When you have momentum, everything feels possible. Opportunities appear everywhere. Solutions come easily. Progress feels effortless. But momentum is fragile. It can be lost through a single bad decision, a moment of weakness, or a return to old patterns of thinking and acting. Maintaining momentum requires you to understand that setbacks are not failures. They are data points. When something doesn't work out the way you planned, you have two choices. You can interpret it as evidence that you are not capable of success, or you can interpret it as valuable information that helps you adjust your approach. Champions choose the second interpretation every time. The mindset of champions is built on three core principles. First, champions believe that every problem has a solution. They may not know what that solution is immediately, but they never doubt that it exists. This belief keeps them searching when others give up. Second, champions view obstacles as opportunities to grow stronger. They understand that easy victories don't build character or competence. Third, champions take complete responsibility for their results. They never blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck for their outcomes. When Michael faced bankruptcy at 35 years old, everyone told him he should get a job and play it safe. His business had failed. His marriage was falling apart. His confidence was shattered. The weak version of Michael wanted to retreat, to accept that entrepreneurship was not for him, to settle for the security of a steady paycheck. But something inside Michael refused to surrender. He had spent 2 years transforming his mindset, building new habits, and developing the mental disciplines we have discussed. This foundation held firm, even when everything else crumbled around him. Instead of seeing bankruptcy as proof of his inadequacy, he saw it as tuition for the education he needed to succeed at the next level. Michael started over with nothing but the lessons he had learned from his failure. He applied every principle of success he had studied. He worked longer hours than anyone else. He improved his skills every single day. He built relationships with people who could help him grow. He maintained unwavering faith in his vision, even when others doubted him. 3 years later, Michael built a company that generated more revenue in 1 month than his previous business had generated in an entire year. 5 years later, he sold that company for 8 figures and started a foundation to help other entrepreneurs overcome failure. Today, Michael speaks to audiences around the world about the power of persistence and the importance of never giving up on your dreams. Michael's story is not unique. Every successful person has a story of overcoming adversity, of refusing to quit when quitting would have been easier, of choosing to see possibility where others saw only problems. These stories matter because they prove that transformation is possible for anyone willing to pay the price. Continuous improvement is the secret weapon of unstoppable people. They never become satisfied with their current level of performance. They are always looking for ways to get better, to serve more people, to create more value, to make a bigger difference. This commitment to growth keeps them fresh, energized, and relevant in a constantly changing world. Legacy thinking changes everything about how you approach your daily activities. When you think about the impact you want to have on the world, when you consider what you want people to say about you after you are gone, when you focus on the difference you want to make in the lives of others, your problems become smaller and your purpose becomes clearer. The weak version of yourself is concerned with getting. The strong version of yourself is committed to giving. When you shift your focus from what you can get to what you can give, you tap into a source of energy and motivation that never runs dry. People who make a lasting impact on the world are people who dedicate their lives to serving something bigger than themselves. Your moment is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect, now. The weak version of yourself has controlled your life long enough. It has kept you small, safe, and stuck. It has whispered lies about your limitations and convinced you to settle for less than you deserve. But that version of you dies today. In its place rises a person of strength, courage, and determination. A person who takes action despite fear. A person who persists despite setbacks. A person who believes in possibilities rather than limitations. The transformation begins with a single step, taken with absolute conviction that you are capable of creating the life you truly want. Take that step now. Your future self is counting on it.